Well, it's time we just said it out loud. Some of our rabbis have gone off the deep end. Hi, this is Charles Jacobs for APT, Americans for Peace and Tolerance. Meet Boston area Rabbi Toba Spitzer. Toba Spitzer is a social justice warrior. From her bima at Congregation Dorsey Tzedek in Newton, Massachusetts, she urges Jews to give their hearts and minds to the causes of the left. She also thinks they should give up her wealth, because we Jews have too much money. And, she argues, to make the world a better place, the Jews should give up Israel. Toba Spitzer is not some wild-eyed radical off in the woods. She was the head of the Massachusetts Board of Rabbis, and she has the blessings and support of Boston's Jewish establishment. What I'm about to tell you is based on research by our executive director, Ilya Feoktistov. Ilya published his findings about Rabbi Spitzer this year in 2 articles in the American Thinker. They're on our website. Ilya found that Rabbi Spitzer supports radical causes that are provably anti-Semitic. Toba Spitzer is a fan of Linda Sarsour, the anti-Semitic Islamist extremist. She supported the anti-Semitic Occupy Wall Street movement. And Toba Spitzer supports the anti-Semitic Black Lives Matter movement. Toba supports open borders. She thinks that anyone who wants to can come live among us. She's not worried about what these folks think about Jews or democracy or women's rights or gay rights. Even when they come from countries in the Middle East where people are inculcated from birth to hate every one of these. Toba wants them as our neighbors. She has no plan that we know of to detoxify or de-radicalize them. That, I'm sure she would tell us, would be a racist thing to do. Toba Spitzer preaches against the Israeli government. She rails against the elected leaders of the Jewish people in Israel. But she will not tolerate, however, any American Jew who criticizes the unelected Jewish leaders we are stuck with here in Boston. Indeed, she and her board of rabbis demonize anyone who challenges anything they say or do. Rabbi Spitzer and the Mass Board of Rabbis insist that all of their leftist causes are Jewish religious imperatives. For Rabbi Spitzer, her support for leftist causes seems to include anti-Zionism. Here's the kicker. Toba Spitzer wrote that when it comes to Israel, American Jews need to ask themselves if they believe, quote, that the physical continuity of the Jewish people supersedes other Jewish values, unquote. And her answer is, implicitly, no. Jewish sovereignty and the Jewish lives protected by Jewish sovereignty should not, by her lights, supersede the Jewish values of showing loving kindness, chesed, and mercy, rachamim, toward all, including, she says, supporters of Hamas. Those are her words, supporters of Hamas. In saying these things, Rabbi Toba Spitzer demonstrates her utter ignorance of Judaism's core principles. The preservation of innocent life, pikuach nefesh, through war if necessary, is the highest Jewish value. It supersedes all other Jewish values except for the bans on murder, sexual crime, and sacrilege. According to the Jewish canon, war against the likes of Hamas is literally a mitzvah. Yet this year, Rabbi Spitzer condemned the American Jewish establishment for embracing the idea that Israel, in her words, quote, is vitally connected to Jewish survival in the modern world. Why? Because that idea itself has, quote, led to an attempt to erase Palestinian history. So after almost 4,000 years of religious devotion to a Jewish state in Israel, Rabbi Toba Spitzer wants American Jews to detach themselves emotionally, religiously, and morally from their commitment to Israel's physical continuity. Finally, not content to detach American Jews from Israel, Rabbi Toba Spitzer seeks to detach them from their money. In an interview in 2017, Toba Spitzer said something shocking. She told us that, quote, the Jewish community in Boston is disproportionately well off. I think, she says, that real change is going to require that we give up some of that economic privilege, unquote. Now, if you heard someone say that the Jews are too rich, hey, let's redistribute their money, you'd think you were at a white supremacist rally. But this is a rabbi, formerly head of the board of rabbis in New England, that elected her as its leader. Ironically, Toba Spitzer's board of rabbis is largely funded by the Combined Jewish Philanthropies of Boston, the CJP. The new president of CJP is Rabbi Mark Baker. Rabbi Baker pledged that among his top priorities were the Boston Jewish community's continued prosperity and connection to Israel. So what can Rabbi Mark Baker think of Rabbi Toba Spitzer's preachments? I think we should ask him to condemn and refute these dangerous and anti-Semitic preachings of this wild renegade rabbi of Newton, Massachusetts. So why did Toba Spitzer become a rabbi in the first place? And what else has she done to harm Jewish interests in New England? That will come in part 2. Stay tuned. This is Charles Jacobs for Americans for Peace and Tolerance.